Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Ride 5. Finally, we are getting our full career Let's Play underway. Now, the main reason I'm doing this is because it's such a long, extensive career. I can really spread it into a good few episodes and cover pretty much everything this game's career mode has to offer. And there is a lot to uncover as we go through around about 8 chapters. Now, the reason I'm kind of starting it today and not yesterday was mainly yesterday for me was a chance to really kind of get used to how Ride 5 feels. It feels slightly different from Ride 4, and to be honest, most of the games I play is the likes of MotoGP, SBK, well, they're usually much quicker and obviously race bike focused, whereas Ride 5 has a massive variety. So at least early on, it was very difficult to, I guess, get used to the more sluggish and more heavy feeling bikes. But I am now at a decent level where I feel like the playthrough, well, it should actually work. So we're going to have all assists off apart from joint brakes and a bit of, semi-auto transmission. So we're going to head into the career mode and I'm going to give you a quick look at the basic overview of what to expect. So there's around about 8 of these, I guess, championships acts. There's sort of 4 main ones and you have some at the bottom as well. As you can see, they're kind of the limitless challenge ones. Again, you unlock these by progressing through. Obviously, we're going to be starting out with number 1, which is going to be the sort of, I believe it's called Rev It Up or something like that. So yeah, as you can see. And this one's essentially aimed at more amateur riding and more amateur level competition. So there's not going to be anything too major, I'm assuming, throughout this championship, or at least from what I've done so far or pre-completed, there really wasn't. As you can see, these gold sort of coverings means that I've gone ahead and essentially got the gold for that. So I do apologize, but again, it was just to kind of get used to it, but I'm going to repeat them for a playthrough to kind of, I guess give you a proper look into it without me essentially spending most of the time at turn 1 sat on my arse in the gravel. So this is the European Junior 250 Championship. It's for 2-stroke 250cc bikes. It's a 3-round championship, so not single events. It's going to essentially take us on points throughout the entire 3 rounds to, essentially decide the winner. So we've got Mugello, then we head over to Great Britain for Snetterton, and then over to Valencia there for the final one. More shorter layouts for these ones, fairly typical sprint racers. Now, you'd usually get the Suzuki RGV for this event. This is the bike that at least I was given to complete this event with. However, I'm going to go for my personal favorite, which is the Honda NSR 250R from 1995, and it does seem to be the standout bike, at least for this championship. So we're going to load the bike back on the van. As you can see, we're going to essentially drive our way around this tour, I'm assuming, all the way from Italy to Great Britain, then back to Spain. So yeah, I guess that's the way we're going to do it. So we've got a nice little intro here to introduce us to our first location as we zoom in on the map to Italy. As you can see, it's going to give us some nice touristy looks around the around Italy itself, the Colosseum, bit of Venice and all that good stuff in the background. But we are going to be heading to Mugello circuit for this one, and it's going to be absolutely awesome. Now, this is a circuit, if you play bike games, you've probably seen plenty of Mugello. It's going to be set on the more short course layout, so it's not going to be the entire thing that you may see in some of those, full-blown bike racing games, at least to begin with. I'm sure we'll get the full layout later on in the game. So here we go on our first race start. How are we going to get underway? Not too bad, actually. We get a bit of a pop of a wheelie, but we do manage to control it. We've got the likes of TC, ABS, anti-wheelie and all that kind of stuff turned off. The only thing we've got on is sort of joint brakes and stuff like that. Now, I've gone for a soft compounder tyre to give us as much possible pace. Tyre life really isn't an issue. It's a not a long race. It's a full-blown sprint, and we're going to take advantage of that and go around the outside of what will be one of our main rivals throughout this entire championship, Pekkanen, who is also going to be kind of challenging us up there with the likes of Pinto as well, which you'll probably see throughout this race and in the next one. So a little bit later on lap 1, we're still battling away with Pekkanen here. We're going to put it up the inside and try and pull away as much as possible, and we do seem to get the job done as we round the final 2 corners for this track. A little bit slow through there. It did take me a while to realise that you actually hit that much faster than you naturally assume, especially if you've got the racing line. It will tell you to brake really early. Ignore that. You can really, really hammer that corner. So it looked like a fairly easy win to begin with. We start gapping the field by over a second. However, we are then going to fall on our arse and go down, meaning that we had a bunch of work to do with only 1 more lap to go. As you can see, Pinto now in the lead. with our second place finish rifle, pretty much kind of cruising along at this point. So second and third for the Finns there. We're going to try and work away and use our top speed to our advantage as we go and dive into turn 1 to see if we can get anything done, but again, just braking a little bit too early. We do manage to get a few places through this section of the track. This is more the mid section to early section, so again, we really need to take advantage of our top speeder down this main straight to line us up nicely for the final section, and it did work until we get into the final few corners here. As we can see, we've got 4th place in the sights. It's looking like the top 3 is not going to be too possible here, as we've got Pekkanen there in P3 and Pinto in P1, who are going to come into play later on in this championship. But we are going to take P4, a decent recovery to say I was massively panicking when I went down, and as you can see, with the fastest lap, well, we absolutely smashed it by just under a second from Pinto, who put the second fastest lap in. So that gives us 13 points to begin with Pinto on 25 and Pekkanen on 15 as we head to round 2 in Great Britain, or my home country. So we're going to be heading to one of what seems to be many British tracks in this game. We're going to be using Snetterton for this round, as again we get the nice touristy look at the likes of London and, you know, the White Cliffs and all that good stuff as we head into Great Britain once again. It is a pretty cool feature, but it's just a bit weird that it doesn't kind of show off more of the track that you're racing at. But here we are, Snetterton, and we're going to be racing on, I believe, the 200 layout for Snetterton. So are we going to get a decent start? We did last time, so let's hope we are going to get a decent one here to begin with as we start in round P10, and it's an absolutely terrible start. We bogged straight down, popped the wheel straight up, and we've lost a ton of positions, dropping all the way down to around about P19 by the time we get to turn 1. So it's looking like already that this championship's a massive bust. However, you can see up front, we've got a massive pack of bikes, meaning that probably they're going to bump into each other. We've just got to try and take it nice and steady and see realistically where we can make moves. So we're going to dive up the inside, accidentally bump the back of our, I think, an Aprilia back up there, and we're going to drop back a little bit. But again, we do have a massive amount of top speed on this Honda. For some reason, the Honda's just seemed insanely quick, and that is going to allow us to really build up some more time to get to the front of the pack. So there we go, going a little bit later on lap 1. We're currently in P7 as we dive into P6. Round the outside for P5, we're going to try and hang it around. We do get it done and get that one closed off. So P5 to end lap 1 isn't too bad at all, as we may nearly come off the bike there on the final corner, and again, once again, end up in battle with another Honda, but we are managing to pull away and hold that position there to get P5 across the line. So not too bad as we now blast down into turn 1 with the Italian just up in front of us. As you can see, our main rivals Pinto and Pekkanen really up the order there, as we end up with a little bit of a bump. So moving on, as you can see, we're now on to the end of lap 2. Once again on the sweeping right-hander, we're going to make one move on Pekkanen, try and get it around the outside of Pinto, as we have the Portuguese of Alves up in front. We get a pretty decent launch out, to be honest. I expected to end up coming off the bike there with that little bit of contact, but we didn't. We held it in there and we used the superior top speed to blast past. As you can see, the other Honda bikes coming massively blasting through there, and then we go into the corner where I lifted a bit too early, and that's going to again cause a bit of contact. So definitely not my cleanest race, but it does mean that we have currently got ourselves into P1, which is what we want. Round in the final corner, it was a quiet third lap, and we are going to take the win at Snetterton in my home country to take our first win of this championship, and we'll go ahead and see what the point standings looks like as we go into our final event in Valencia. Now this one's going to be interesting. Again, fastest lap there, so plenty of pace on this bike, especially compared to the AI. Very, very close, to be honest, between the rest of them. In terms of points, 38 for myself, 38 for Pinto, and 35 for Pekkanen, meaning that it's going to be a very close round as we once again take a look at our map and zoom in as we head over to Spain in Valencia for the final round of the championship. And as you can see, we're going to get a nice look at some of the more touristy side of Spain, but once again, no look at the track. But again, like I said, it is a fairly nice little thing to have as you kind of look through the country that you're heading to. So we're going to head to the Circuit Ricardo Torme, I believe. I probably butchered that, so if there's any Spanish viewers, I massively apologise. But we're going to go ahead and get underway for our final race of the championship. Hopefully we get a better start, and it is looking like we do make a fairly decent start. It wasn't as dreadful as it could have been. As you can see, we're starting around about mid-pack once again, and it's a fairly good run to turn 1, which means we can really take advantage of our decent top speed, but it's going to end up pretty much bumper cars up front, or should I say bumper bikes, as everybody just seems to be absolutely clattering off each other. Now, the one good thing was that Pinto, who was on level points with us, was kind of starting fairly much, pretty much around us at this point in the race. So again, we don't have to worry too much about his points. However, if you look at the leaderboard, P1 is Pekkanen, and he is only 3 points behind, and from first to second place, there's a 5-point drop there, meaning 25 points for first, 20 points for second. So essentially, he's going to win this championship outright. We don't have to worry too much about Pinto at this point. As you can see, he's the bike just ahead of us here, and he's pretty much stuck in traffic, although I'm pretty sure he'll make his way through. If he keeps getting caught up and we can kind of make our way through as quick as possible, then we should be in a good position to try our best to chase down Pekkanen and take away the championship from him. So again, we're still bumper biking our way through here, and Pinto has now dropped back behind us, I believe, at this point. So again, he's not too much to, really anything to worry about as we're going to the final corner to finish up lap 1. We're going to take it around the outside of the Frenchman and blast ourselves down the straight. Again, we've got massive top speed, as you can see. I believe there's a bunch of Yamahas and Suzuki's kind of in here, as we also have a Honda here on the right hand side that we're going to be able to outpace. All bikes at different kind of speed levels and stuff. It does seem that the Honda bikes are actually the more prolific and faster bikes overall. So into the left-hander, we're going to get a very good exit here as those pair essentially just trip over each other. Valencia, again, we saw in the last race. And again, into the right-hander, and now we've got essentially 2 laps to chase down Pekkanen. So we're going to come towards the more end section of this Valencia track. As you can see, we're still a fair bit behind, but he's very slow on his corner exit there. Looking like we do get a better exit, and we are able to then begin to close him down. Coming into the final corner, we just need to keep it nice and steady. We don't want to come off the bike. That's the last thing we want to do, because essentially it will drop us back down into the pack, because we're only about 1.6 seconds up on 3rd place, so it's not too much of a gap. Again, his Honda does have a decent top speed, but we do have better as we blast past him at 135 mile an hour and get the move done to essentially take the championship away from him as we go into turn 1. So the rest of lap 3, very, very quiet, nothing to show you. Again, the gap did go down towards the end, as you can see, got it around to just under a second, but as we power down to the main finish line, we're going to pop a wheelie and get this event done with, as we essentially secure ourselves first place. As you can see, Pinto, not an issue at that point, coming P6 in this event, meaning that he dropped plenty of points there. And the final standing is ourselves on 63 points, Pekkanen on 55, Pinto 48, and that's going to round out the top 3 there. So again, it did end up looking a bit more gaps, although myself and Pinto equal points to the last round. As you can see how many we took away from him there, with Pekkanen just losing out mainly because we took away that P1 from him, or else he would have took it if he did get that P1. So as you can see, naturally you get awarded for that one a Honda. I believe it's a CBR from the kind of mid-2000s, which we're essentially going to be using for this one. This is essentially a non-championship event. It's split into 4 rounds. As you can see, we've got 3 single races. We've got a time attack at Monza, but then we also have the likes of, Valencia returning again, Brands Hatch Indy layout, and this cool little track here, the Almeria Grand Prix circuit, which is absolutely awesome and very much confusing. So that is going to be the end of our first episode of our Ride 5 playthrough. That was our first championship done and dusted using the 250R Honda. Absolutely love this bike, to be quite honest. It really does sound absolutely awesome and feels awesome once you've got them upgrades on. Definitely one of the more stands out. So a little bit of piece of advice, if you're struggling with the original Suzuki that it gives you, go to the Honda. It does seem to be the better performing bike of the bunch, and well, those standings really speak for themselves, with Honda pretty much dominating the 250cc 2-stroke category that we've just done. Next up, we'll go into some more stock bikes. We'll head over to the CBR, the Honda, and give that a try out for 4 single events, including a time attack at Monza, where we're going to go ahead and push for gold once again. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. Upload GT7, Ride 5, all sorts of stuff each and every day for your viewing pleasure. And it's coming to that time where a bunch of other releases are coming out, including Forza and The Crew. So I'll be doing those as well. See you later, guys. Peace.